Alright, let's go ahead and get ourselves started. But yes, to answer your question, Sora, something did come up last stream. Annoying technical difficulties. I only got like an hour in before I had to stop abruptly. So, hopefully I got those fixed, and I won't have to deal with any random, nonsense. But we'll see what happens. One can only hope and pray to the gods that things will go alright today. In any case, my name is Logic Blade, and we're back with some more Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Last time around, we started up the trial of Soseki Natsume. Did he try to kill William Shamspeare or not? That is up to us to find out, but the jury seems pretty sure that he's guilty, so we need to do a summation examination and, convince them otherwise. Yeah, I literally got stopped right before I could do the summation examination, so yeah, let's explain how the summation examination works. Oh, well, you're still very new to British law after all. That's true, I suppose, and Soseki-san's fate is entirely in my hands now, too. There's always a chance I might have forgotten some crucial detail. Perhaps I should hear Suzato-san out. I wonder, should I let her talk me through it again, or not bother? Nah. Who needs tutorials? Thank you for the kind offer, Miss Suzato, but I've been through plenty of these summation examinations already now. I think it's important that we don't delay the start any longer than necessary. Of course, I understand, and I'm quite sure you're right. If you're confused by anything at any point, you can turn to me for advice whenever you'd like. I'll be here for you. Aw. The key to this is really listening carefully to each juror's statement, finding two that are contradictory, and pitting the corresponding jurors against each other. Yeah, that's pretty much all the tutorial would need to tell you, so I don't know why they would have the option, but hey. Without further ado, please, counsel, proceed with the summation examination. Yes, my lord. The defense's rebuttal. The victim may not be well off, but he's a noble man and straight up. There's no reason to doubt the man. Hold it! Well, there are plenty of people in London who seem noble but poor. Couldn't some of them also be liars? I've no doubt about it. Like that shaky client of yours, for example. Absolutely not. Mr. Natsume is no liar. Look, the point is, the only thing that passed the victim's lips that night was that Japanese man's tea. When you take the gas man's testimony into account as well, the truth couldn't be any clearer. Well, that's alarmingly logical. But let me be frank here. I'm a gentleman with a gentleman's values. It turns out that the old Shakespearean chum's a rotten liar after all. I gladly change my decision about the defendant. And I'm sure my fellow gentlemen on the jury would do the same. Isn't that right? Well, yes, perhaps. Though I don't see it happening. What's that? Elderly gent on the end here, you know. They'll have to speak up. Look, I really don't care about all this nonsense. I just need this trial to be over. How many gentlemen do we actually have on the jury, then? Alright, sir. I may hold you to that. Don't forget what you said. Well, I do declare the good gentleman has no reason to lie. In fact, I think he's rather splendid. Are you saying you believe the man to be trustworthy because he's rather splendid? No, that's not what I said. The point is, the man is the victim here. What reason would he have to lie? And yes, he is rather splendid. So you say, yet again. Meanwhile, the man who stands accused behaves so suspiciously, it's exhausting to look at him. I'm afraid he's not splendid at all. Splendid logic there, madam. Thank you so much. Just look at the accused by comparison. He's Japanese, stoops all the while, and has a mustache. Very fishy. No, not one of those things is a reason to find the man guilty. But he is fishy, there's no point dancing around the fact. He's Japanese, he has a mustache, and he stoops. You see, you arrive at the conclusion in just 3 steps. 3 steps, like a waltz, in fact. You know, the more I think about it, the more this trial seems like a dance. You seem to be several steps ahead of yourself, though. And you're on the wrong foot. No, there's nothing but circumstantial evidence here. There's no actual proof of the defendant's guilt. But the victim version of events is backed up by what the big-chinned man next to him says, isn't it? 1, he saw the Japanese man there. 2, he saw no one else. And 3, he saw the Japanese man there. Oh, that's another 3 steps. All this really does seem more and more like a waltz, doesn't it? Right, and the prosecution will waltz its way to victory if I let you speak much more. There's no evidence to suggest the gangling actor is a fraudsman, for now at least.
Hold it!
A fraudsman? What do you mean by that, madam? It really is a most tiresome problem for the company, most irritating. We can be absolutely certain that a customer is stealing from us, but without hard evidence, we can't even threaten to take action for fear of being sued. I'm sorry, you've lost me a little there. Who are you? I'm the wife of Augustus Altamont, owner of the Altamont Gas Company. Good gracious! Altamont Gas, you say? Gas is the future of energy in this country and around the globe, but proper handling is essential. As I'm sure our employee from the East End branch office would be the first to agree. Absolutely, Lady Quinby. Gotta be used properly. Altamont Gas is the best in the world, of course. Ah, I think we may have solved the mystery of the bow from earlier, Mr. Naruhodo. Right. He bowed in deference to his employer's wife, did he? Oh, so would I be right in assuming that the reason Mr. Meataman was watching what Mr. Shamspear was up to in his room? I'm afraid that there's no end to the lengths the population of the East End will go in order to steal our gas. So I really have no choice when the company identifies someone as a possible fraudsman, but to dispatch a worker to watch the suspect day and night. We're very thorough in our investigations. So you mean Mr. Shamspear is... I wouldn't come out and say it in public, but you can finish that sentence with a grubby little gas thief. You have noticed the public gallery in here, have you? The eye of man hath not heard, the ear of man hath not seen. Faith, wouldst thou wound me with thy words, were I to let them penetrate the skin? But seraphs hear not insults, only choirs of angels in song. We may not have evidence yet, but my workers won't stop buzzing around you until they find it. And when they do, you'll find yourself blasted back to your angelic heights in an Altamont gas explosion. So, Mr. Shamspear has been stealing gas. I wonder, juror number 4, if you wouldn't mind adding that information to your statement? My pleasure. Was it the bit about ripping that thief apart you enjoyed? A little before the part about abject violence, if it's not too much trouble. Yes, of course. This could be it. This could shift the balance.
Hold it!
You keep talking about needing to take home some money. What's that all about, sir? Finish last, that's what it's about. What's that? I'm talking about the Derby at Hyde Park, aren't I? It was the Queen's Cup last week, wasn't it? Derby? It was a dead cert, that's the thing. I couldn't lose, so I took my wife's secret savings, but then that hopeless old mare went and did the unthinkable. Ah, that stupid finish last. Oh dear, I think it's clear what happened, isn't it? This is the day the missus uses her savings for a trip down the pub. So come on, let the business lie now, just give it up. No, that's not gonna happen. 3 hours of missing time is nothing when you reach my age, you know? Nothing at all. What do you really mean by that, sir? Well, I'm not one to boast, but I get up at 5 every morning, I do. At 5? You're a really early riser then, aren't you? What's that now? I said you're an early riser. Oh, well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I like to while away the hours in the evening reading books as well. But by about 2 in the morning, I'm usually too tired to go on. He sleeps at 2 in the morning and gets up at 5? Oh my, that means he only has 3 hours of sleep each night. What's that, dear? Only 3 hours of sleep each night. That's right, you see? 3 hours of missing time. Like I said, it's not much, is it? This really isn't helping. The key to summation examinations is identifying contradictions between jurors' statements, Mr. Naruhodo. Right, and once I've found 2 jurors whose statements can't coexist, I need to pit those jurors against each other. Then hopefully, when they see what they're saying doesn't make sense, they'll change their leaning. Yes, and if you're able to change the minds of a majority of the jurors, the trial will continue. But conversely, if you're unable to do that, the judge will declare the trial over and move to adjudication. And I can't let that happen. Somehow or another, I have to turn this trial around. Alright. So, let's make our save.
Hold it!
Nope, I meant to actually pit. It's a bold claim. How can you be so sure? It's really very simple. I had some technical difficulties happening, and then, I couldn't get my internet back working again. And by the time I did, there's just too much noise going on around me that I couldn't actually stream properly. It's really very simple. Noble Lady of Gas, I pray thee, hold thy tongue. I beg your pardon. Hath thou rank-odored air that doth our darkness illuminate any place in this assembly? Nay, 'tis of sole import here that someone wouldst extinguish the light of mine own life. Verily, I ne'er recalled stealing thy gas, but pray, let the matter rest until anon. Why, you little! Begging your pardon, my lady, but might I suggest you don't say any more at this stage? We need hard evidence first. If I keep secretly watching this bloke, I'll get him in the end. He'll slip up. Do you think maybe that secret's out of the bag? Oh, this is so frustrating. Alright. Well, there's a reason to lie. Let's put 2 and 4 together. See what happens.
Objection!
Nope, that was not correct. As foreman of the jury, I must object. I must object to. That never happened. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Objection!
Nope. Alright. It's gotta be 1 and 4.
Objection!
I'm not sure why, but it's gotta be 1 and 4. Those 2 statements clearly contradict each other. Good gracious! To whose statements do you refer, counsel? Juror number 1. What are you yelling about, lad? I presume you've heard juror number 4's statement, made by the wife of the owner of Altamont Gas. Well, yes. The victim, who you claim to be a noble, straight-up man, is in fact, turns out to be a common thief. So the good lady says, but there's no evidence, is there? You and I both heard them say as much. It's true, we don't have evidence as such, just yet. But the claims aren't baseless, you know.
What?
You heard me. Seeing as his operation has already been compromised, I would suggest that the court hears testimony from our East End branch office employee over there.
I'll do whatever you say, my lady. Gasman's honor. Juror number 1. You say you're a man of your word. If I could show you that Mr. Shamsphere was a liar, you assured me that you would reconsider your decision about the defendant's guilt. Yes, I did say that. And as a man of honor, I'll hold to it, as I'm sure the other gentlemen of the jury will.
Me? Oh, well, yes. Now that we found out the man's a liar, perhaps we ought to consider the matter further. Well, if I'm perfectly honest, I haven't heard half of what you've all been saying. So if this means you'll recap a few points, that would suit me down to the ground.
Oh no, I'm not having any part of this. I want this trial over and done with.
In that case, I shall change my leaning.
So, Mr. William Shamsphere, if that is your real name, we of the jury demand to know exactly what kind of a man you really are.
I'm not sure why it was 1 instead of 2, but I'll take it. It was just because we could convince everyone with number 1. That's 4 jurors. 4 for not guilty. Yes, Mr. Naruhodo. Victory! Order! Order! Well, this is quite extraordinary, I must say. As a result of the defense's summation examination, the jury's leaning has changed. Now only 2 jurors stay guilty, while 4 say not guilty. I therefore declare this court to be in a state of disaccord, and order the trial to continue. You have spoiled the bouquet, Mr. Shamsphere. The ladies and gentlemen of the jury now find that they are unable to trust you, the victim. But you gods will give us some faults to make us men. So God mend me, I do swear. This gasman speaketh that which concerns him most, naught but gas, naught but thin air. Aye, it burneth bright a while, but it hath no substance, and it doth reek foul.
Oi, what'd you say?
If the sight of my hallowed ass cheek should clap this fine bench, pray forgive the discourtesy. Yeah, that pose is amazing. I can't believe there's just one of him chilling out on the bench. Do I take it, Mr. Shamsphere, that you deny the allegations of gas thievery? Most heartily, my lord, hast thou forgot, I am as a seraph, an angel, noble of mind, sweet of nature, and verily honest of heart.
Ugh, you flowery-mouthed pompous beanhole. Beanpole. Just because I haven't got the evidence yet.
I would love to hear his deep objection in the camera pans to see him like that. Yeah, that'd be just hilarious. Mr. Shamsphere, if, in fact, you are not noble of mind, sweet of nature, or honest of art, if you are a liar, then your testimony should have no sway in this courtroom. Capcom fucked up. It is my considered opinion that at the present time no other possible culprit of this crime has been identified. All testimony heard by the court thus far heavily implicates the defendant. In short, it would not be unreasonable at this stage for me to rule on the case. Oh no. However, in light of the fact that the jury has expressed concern about the fidelity of this witness, I believe it would be inappropriate for this court not to pursue this point further.
Objection!
I assure you, my lord, that would be a waste of the court's time. The gas and this case are unrelated. Juror number 4. Yes. didn't you say before that although you had no hard evidence to prove this man has been stealing gas, you have strong grounds for suspecting him? That's right, we do. Don't we, worker?
Absolutely, Lady Quinby. Gasman's honor.
Very well, then. We will hear your testimony now. You will tell the court precisely why you believe the victim, Mr. William Shamspeare, has been stealing gas.
Yes, my lord. It'll be my pleasure. On the Altamont gas name, I swear.
If I may, my lord. Go ahead, madame. This worker's testimony may have a significant bearing on the good name of my husband's company. Therefore, I should like to take the stand alongside him in a supervisory role, if you wouldn't mind.
Wahoo! Oh yeah, sweet as honey. Yeah.
What? Very well. As an exception, I shall honor your request. Thank you, my lord.
Yo, wait till the boss gives you an earful. Oh, it's gonna sting. You mark my words.
So, you will both testify before the court on the subject of the illegal consumption of the Altamont Gas Company's fuel. Yes. Is that clear, my good man?
Clear as Altamont gas, my lady. Which is the clearest in the world.
I guess fanboying for your boss is one way to keep your job. I mean, he's got a pretty big nose, so I guess he can brown nose pretty well. Do you think the gas has gone to his head, Miss Suzato? I think the man is just a very dedicated employee, Mr. Naruhodo. I'm afraid the man's a simp, Mr. Naruhodo.
The Altamont Gas Company's investigation. I'm proud to be the company's East End branch investigator and meter money collection agent. Altamont gas meters accept through-penny bits, each coin giving customers about 2 hours of gorgeous gas.
And yet, the meter in Mr. Shamspeare's room didn't have a single coin in it. The meter doesn't appear to have been tampered with, though, and the collection agent has the only key.
Somehow he's using all the flaming gas he wants without paying a penny. That's not thieving, what is?
Pray, forgive the discourtesy. The irrelevance of this testimony caused me to turn to my hallowed chalice. For I am an alcoholic, and only alcohol will soothe these woes. Mr. Naruhodo, you drive me to drink. What do you mean by that remark, Lord Van Zeeks? Did the mustachioed Nipponese poison the gangling excuse for an actor, or didn't he? That is all that should concern this court. And yet now we must listen to this appearance. Clearly what separates the vast British Empire and your Eastern Island nation is more than geographical distance. But this could turn out to be crucial testimony. The cross-examination must go ahead. Do what you will. Lord Van Zeeks appears to be in a violent mood. Yes, he does. He just wasted the entire bottle. My dude, come on. Yeah, he eats the glass, he eats the bottle. Dude has a drinking problem. An attempted poisoning, and an incidence of gas theft with no supporting evidence. It's true that they would appear completely unrelated at first glance. But I wonder, the truth tends to be buried in the most unusual places. And the first step in uncovering it will be to establish just who and what this man really is. Alright. Time for more cross-examination.
Hold it!
So, does that mean you enter people's houses in order to empty their gas meters?
That I do. I have to try to catch people when they're in. Then I ask permission to come inside and do my business.
Do his business. Does that mean you've been into Mr. Natsume's room before, as well as that of Mr. Shamspeare?
Well now, interesting you should bring that up, because I couldn't believe how little money was in his meter. I mean, how the pair of them survived the winter is beyond me. It really is.
Knowing Mr. Natsume, he probably spends all his gas money on books. And then when he's finished reading them, he probably burns them for warmth. You will kindly reiterate your statement about the gas meters themselves, Mr. Meter Man.
Not much to say, really, but as you wish. Altamont gas meters accept through penny bits.
Hold it!
Or is it through a penny? So, all London houses that have a gas supply are fitted with these gas meters, are they? They're the latest model, the height of technology, developed by our company, Altamont Gas. And anyone who uses our gas will have one of these meters in their property, yes. So, if a 3p coin gives 2 hours of gas, most people would use about 3 hours in a night? Or 3 coins in a night?
Bit more than that, usually. If they have both gas lights and a gas stove, that is.
Thinking about it, so Seki-san doesn't have a fireplace in that room of his, does he? Some people still choose to use candles, of course, and only have gas for heating. Oh yes, I do remember seeing candles in Mr. Natsume's room, actually. And how does the money in the meter get back to you at the gas company?
Every 3 days, gasmen like me visit properties on the gas supply and empty the meters of coins.
I must say, the design and manufacture of the new meter cost the company an awful lot of money. But happily, it did put a stop to people not paying their dues, for the most part. Oh, because they have to pay in advance, you mean? Yes, exactly right. And yet, the meter in Mr. Shamspeare's room didn't have a single coin in it.
Hold it!
Out of interest, how long has this been going on?
Weeks and weeks. He's been pinching gas off us for ages.
And you've examined the meter in Mr. Shamspeare's room, I take it? Naturally. We took it off the wall and went over it with a fine-tooth comb. And found nothing suspicious at all, I presume? No, I'm afraid we didn't. Which is exactly why I demanded a new type of meter to be produced. One with an indestructible lock. The Shamspeare Special. That sounds like it would have cost an awful lot of 3p pieces. But even after all that, the rascal's meter was still empty.
I'll never forget the humiliation. When I opened up the money box and found a bear. You what? I said, you what?
And the look on his face, that smarmy smile of his. Huh.
I pulled the meter straight off the wall and took it back to the office. But you know what? Nothing. Not a trace of it being jemmied open anywhere, not a single sign. What's happening to my salary as a result? Down by 3 shillings a day, that's what.
A life-threatening situation, in a number of ways. Incidentally, what became of that meter?
Nothing became of it. I've still got it.
Oh.
Right here.
No wonder they call you Meter Man. I think it would be prudent for the court to sequester this item while the trial is ongoing. I think so too. Definitely. Although, at first glance, there doesn't appear to be anything unusual about it. Let's move this along, shall we? Continue with your testimony. Though I would say it has as much value as the contents of that meter. Ugh. The meter doesn't appear to have been tampered with, though, and the collection agent has the only key. There's only one key for all your meters? Well, in truth, there's another key in the company vault at our main office. But even if someone had somehow managed to get a hold of a key, we'd know if the coin box had been opened. Oh? How? I came up with a rather clever way to expose any little shenanigans, as it happens. Would you care to explain?
Well now, in order to empty a meter, you have to unlock the padlock and remove the cover. But when I close the cover again, I stick a little beeswax seal on it, you see.
A seal? Like the sort of thing you'd put on an envelope, you mean?
Something like that, yes. Basically, you can't remove the cover again without breaking the seal.
Now, in the case of Mr. Shamspeare's meter, there was no coins inside at all, as I said.
But the seal hadn't been broken either.
So that would mean Mr. Shamspear somehow managed to steal coins from inside the meter without opening it? It would seem so, but that would be impossible.
Somehow he's using all the flaming gas he wants without paying a penny. If that's not thieving, then what is?
Hold it!
How do you know that he's been using gas, though?
Well now, since I started investigating this bloke, I've been to his room more than a few times. On every single occasion, his lamps have been blazing and his stove pounding. It's the middle of winter and he still turns to me, sweat dripping down his cheeks, and says,
Get thee to a nunnery. Hamlet, indeed.
Ugh, I could wring the bloke's neck. I get all hot under the collar, but still. Every time I open up that flaming meter, it's empty. He's robbing me of my salary, too. What's wrong with the world? Where's the justice?
But how can Mr. Shamspear possibly be stealing the money? I don't understand. Simple explanation is right before your eyes.
What?
A toast to you eventually realizing that the gas man could be an accomplice.
You what?
Good lord, eminently plausible indeed. Well, what do you have to say for yourself?
Oh, please, Lady Quinby. I'm a faithful worker. And besides, the money us gasmen collect doesn't tally with how much gas has been used. You dock our pay by the same amount.
So you'd be stealing money only to have the same amount taken from your wages. Clearly, that makes no sense. Perhaps it's a case of losing the battle to win the war?
No, I'm not gonna stir up that hornet's nest. If I went stealing from the company, I'd be finished.
It would seem there's no evidence to support the claims of thievery made against the victim, because Mr. William Shamspear is innocent. Pray, forgive me if that shatters some illusion my learned Nipponese friend was clearly under. I certainly didn't expect to uncover another crime that looks like it's been taking place in the very same room. According to the testimony, it's only the meter in Mr. Shamspear's room that's under suspicion. It does seem as though perhaps it has nothing to do with the incident involving Mr. Natsume. I know, it does seem that way, but the fact is, since I've been practicing law in England, I feel like I've encountered this at least once already. Cases that are interlinked. Oh, it might seem that two cases have nothing to do with one another at first, but in fact, they're intimately connected. Yes, we have experienced that before, haven't we? I wonder if this is just another instance. Perhaps, but we can't be sure of that yet. The Altamont Gas Company has been investigating Mr. Shamspear so earnestly. There must be something to it. But then how has he been managing to steal their gas? Alright, let's take a look at this meter. We haven't done so yet. It's a very sturdy looking padlock, isn't it? And the money box is sealed with beeswax, too. So if Mr. Sholmes were to get up to any mischief, he'd be found out immediately. Mr. Naruhodo, mischief of that kind is not the sort of thing that Mr. Sholmes would... You know, you didn't finish that sentence, don't you? Calling it now, fucker got knocked out. Bye, gas. Yep. Well, anyway, it's understandable that the gas company want to safeguard the money that's rightfully theirs. But it does feel a little over the top, perhaps, doesn't it? No signs that it's been tampered with? Oh, what's... Have you spotted something, Mr. Naruhodo? Just here. There's a little hole, do you see? Goodness, you're right. I wouldn't have noticed. It's not a very neat hole, is it? Not professionally made, I'd say. So, you think it might have been opened up by Mr. Shamspear? Possibly. It seems that the people at Altamont Gas must have missed it. Well, it certainly seems to go all the way through the inside. Yes, but there's no way a coin could fit through there. That's true, but even so, it seems more than a little suspicious. We couldn't find any signs of tampering. No, not at all. Clearly, we didn't think to turn it upside down. Alright, is that everything on this little meter? I think so. Yep. Okay. Alright then. Well, here's the thing. The meter does appear to be tampered with. So, let's go ahead and present this evidence. I'm not sure where this is gonna go, but...
Hold it!
Oop, I meant to present. Shh, don't worry about it. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do. Alright.
Objection!
Lady Altamont, I'm afraid to say that this meter clearly does show signs of having been tampered with. What? Get away! I've been over and over that thing! I'm telling you, there's nothing wrong with it! In that case, what do you have to say about the small hole that's been made at the base of the coin box? Hole? What? You're right. You're quite right. There is a little hole there. Meters aren't supposed to have that. None of the others do. In other words, we can assume that Mr. Shamspear secretly opened up this hole himself? Yes, I wouldn't be at all surprised. But why? Yeah, why? I mean, it's tiny. You can get a farthing through that. Lady Altamont, I wonder if you could give the court some more details about your meter design. What sort of details? Well, what I'd specifically like to know is... how it's dismantled, I would think. How can the meter be dismantled? Dismantled? Yes, given that there are no signs of it having been forced. I'm wondering if perhaps, rather than being broken open, it might have been taken apart. Well, yes, that does make some sense. The padlocks are made by a first-class locksmith from the finest quality steel, and the meter box itself is made from plate steel as well, welded shut to ensure it can't be opened again. I can assure you it's quite impossible to dismantle it. Wahoo, yeah, nothing leaks from an Altamont meter. No coins, no gas, no nothing. I see. The witness will amend her formal testimony with that information in case it is pertinent. As you wish, my lord. All joints on the meter are welded shut, and the lock is made from solid steel. There's no way to dismantle it. Has anyone ever tried? Oh yeah, they've tried, but they've all given up before long. After all, if they had actually broke the meter, the company would be able to take legal action. Yes, that makes sense. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Is it welded steel construction significant? Or perhaps there's some other aspect of the meter's construction that we should be focusing on? Yes, you may be right. Perhaps I should try a different tack here. Like asking about how the meter differentiates coins, for example. How does the meter tell the difference between different coins? What do you mean? Well, for example, if someone were to put in a 1 penny coin, that wouldn't work presumably, would it? No, of course not. So, well, how does the meter know that the coin it's been fed is a threepenny bit? Ah, I see what you're getting at now. The meter tells coins apart by their shape and size, which includes their thickness. A threepenny bit is about 3/4 of an inch in diameter, you see. Other coins just won't fit. Oh, I see. It's clearly been very well thought out. The witness will amend her formal testimony with that information in case it's pertinent. As you wish, my lord. But conversely then, it would seem that anything matching a 3-pence coin exactly in terms of diameter and thickness could equally well be used. Would, that be true? Well, yes, in a way. The weight comes into it at a certain extent as well.
We've thought of that, though, anyway. If I find any fake coins inside the coin box when I empty the meter, the contract says the customer has to pay 100 times the amount they diddled as a fine. We live for moments like that, our gasmen do. Live for them.
It would seem that the gas company has thought of everything.
Wahoo! Hurrah for gas! Hurrah for cash! Altamont all the way!
That's quite enough of that. Remind me, how big are thrupenny bits? About 3/4 of an inch across. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Is this 2-centimeter measurement significant? Or perhaps there's some other aspect of the meter's construction that we should be focusing on? Yes, you may be right. Perhaps I should try a different tack here. Let us return to the testimony. Alright, I'm not sure what I'm doing here. Altamont meters are unsurpassed. They can't be bypassed. No, they can't. Alright, let me just look through my stuff here. Everything should be fine, hopefully. If not, then there's trouble. I'm not sure what I'm doing here. The true Ace Attorney experience, yeah. See, the thing is, there's a hole, and there's gas on the ground, so, like... Yeah, I have... Okay. Nothing else will fit. Nani, who are all these weirdos? Meter did not have a single coin in it. Nothing else will fit. See, I feel like I should be able to present something that does fit, but I don't know what will. Let me examine this bar of soap. Because I think this is what I'm looking at. Oh, look at this bar of soap. There's a circular depression on this side, about 2 centimeters across. Or 3/4 of an inch. Do you think... We did find the soap at the scene, didn't we? Yes. Yes, there were 2 bars on that little ledge just outside the window, so we took this one. But I'm sure that when we first found it, there was some sort of reddish medallion in the middle there. I remember it clearly. Yes, but there's no sign of it now. Where could it have gone? Okay.
Objection!
I had a feeling the soap had something to do with it. The perfect midnight snack. Let me just confirm something here. If the diameter and thickness were to be correct, the meter would accept any object as if it were a threepenny bit. Is that correct? Yes, that is correct. Well, by something of a coincidence, while we were investigating Mr. Shamspeare's room, we found a particular item that matches the dimensions perfectly. Something the same size as a threepenny bit. What was it? The item in question is this.
What? Have you been inhaling gas? That's a bar of soap!
It certainly looks nothing like a threepenny bit, I must say. Looks like I'm gonna have to point out exactly what I mean here. What's so important about the soap is this part here.
Got it!
You have to turn over the soap to see what I mean. Are you referring to that round depression in the middle of the soap there? British people never turn anything over. Today I learned. That's right, a depression that's approximately 3/4 of an inch in diameter. Or, in other words, almost exactly the same size as a threepenny bit.
Get away!
Does anyone here present have in their possession a threepenny bit? Quickly now, hand over your coins, ladies and gentlemen. Sounds rather like a highway robbery, doesn't it? Yep. Thanks to a kind member of the public in the gallery, I have here a threepenny bit. Now, to see if it fits. My word! It couldn't be more snug! Yes, as I suspected. This, without a doubt, is a vital clue to explain how the Altamont Gas Company is being defrauded. Well, I don't believe it. So, your assertion amounts to what? That some inferior bar of soap has a tentative connection to the theft of gas? Yes. The depression in the soap was clearly made by a threepenny bit. I must concur, at least, that pushing a coin with some force into a poor quality bar of soap such as this is a remarkably simple way of replicating the coin's shape. And then you could use, well, some melted wax or something to pour into the mold. You can make fake coins in no time. This brings all the pieces of the puzzle together. It's the method Mr. Shamspeare's been using to steal the gas. That's the missing link. And now, if I follow the chain of thought, it's gonna bring me to a new explanation for what happened that nobody's considered yet. But this is all nonsense. If the man had been making fake coins, my worker here would have found them when he emptied the meter. Quite true, Lady Altamont. In the absence of some black magic that could make them disappear. I see. That's what we're dealing with, is it? There's one form of black magic that could cause the fake coins to disappear into thin air. Yes. Exactly. And the meter here gives it away. What on earth? There are remnants of the magical method used visible on the gas meter taken from the victim's room. If that is your assertion, Counsel, the defense will identify these remnants for the court at once. Where on the meter can the remnants of the method used to make the fake coins disappear be seen? I mean, you're probably telling me to look at this, right? Oop. It does actually go all the way through to the inside, though it's hard to see unless you look closely. In fact, it goes right into the part of the meter where the money ends up. Well, you can possibly extract a coin through such a small hole.
Got it!
Yeah, this theme's amazing. We found this bar of soap at the scene of the crime, just outside the victim's window. Outside? Yes, outside, where you yourself, Mr. Meterman, were loitering in the freezing winter air. That's where we found this soap. Yeah, I get it. That's right. The answer, of course, is ice. Did you say ice? Mr. Shamspeare has been leaving soaps like this outside his window each evening, filled with water. After a night outside in the bitter cold, the water is completely frozen solid the next morning. Then he takes his fake coins of ice and feeds them into the gas meter, giving him light and warmth in spades. As his room becomes very comfortably warm, the ice now inside the meter coin box melts, turning back into water, and draining harmlessly away through the small hole made in the underside of the meter. That is how, without leaving any evidence of his wrongdoing, this man has been stealing Altamont gas. Just like that. So simply. Is he trying to make us look like idiots? He's been fooling us all with some bars of soap and some water. That's right, madame. I don't believe it. It can't be true. Do you have any idea how much money we spent to develop that new meter? And now you have the audacity to suggest that a bit of soap and some water can render it totally useless. I'm fairly sure I didn't design it.
Evidence!
Sorry?
I want evidence! If you're going to stand there and tell me our meters are rubbish, I want to see proof!
She's very good at enforcing accountability, isn't she? Very well, Lady Altamont. If you'd like evidence, I'll provide it.
What?
Mr. Naruhodo, are you saying you do actually have evidence to support this theory? I did notice a trace of something that bothered me a little at the time. And I have a feeling that this theory we've come up with now could explain it. A piece of evidence that substantiates the theory about how Mr. Shamspear has been stealing gas is... Pretty sure it's the leak in the crime scene photograph here.
Take that!
This is a photograph of the scene at the point when the victim was discovered, taken by Inspector Gregson. And it clearly shows the remnants of the crime carried out by Mr. Shamspear. What remnants? Here you can see the gas meter on the wall in Mr. Shamspear's room. Now, look closely at the floorboards directly underneath the meter. What is that? Some kind of grubby stain? Almost certainly, it's a water stain, resulting from the liquid that drained out of the hole made in the meter. If one coin gives around 2 hours of gas usage, and the occupant was heating his room in all his waking hours, we can imagine he would have used around 10 of his fake coins each day. The melting ice inside the meter's coin box would have been dripping out almost constantly, leaving a stain on the floor. This is awful! And there's further evidence, too. Mr. Shamspear is slumped over his table, apparently having consumed strychnine. And, right there next to him, is a bar of soap, broken in half.
You're right!
It would appear to me then, Counsel,
the man was eating the soap, was he?
Pardon. God, again with the soap eating. Yeah, Shamspear is actually kind of a genius for being able to cheat the system like this.
Pardon me for disagreeing with your lordship, but... certainly not.
He didn't beat about the bush there, did he? In truth, Mr. Shamspear was found with a fork in his hand.
A meal of soap is sounding increasingly likely, Lord Van... Do you mean to say he was using that fork to...
Yes. To extract a frozen coin from the bar of soap.
Ah!
But the bar broke in half. So perhaps it didn't go very well.
Good gracious!
Lord Van Zeeks, that's your second bottle today.
I was throwing my hand up in despair,
and happened to catch my hallowed bottle on the way.
Pray, forgive my maladroit mistake. What is the meaning of this, Counsel?
Allow me to pose my learned friend a question. What exactly did you establish with your most recent cross-examination?
Well?
That Mr. William Shamspear is a liar and a thief. In other words, that his testimony is unreliable.
That's it.
That's exactly it.
Very well. Let us assume the man is a liar.
Now, allow me to pose another question.
What possible difference does that make?
Well, we know that suicide can be discounted. Scotland Yard's investigation revealed no sign of another vessel that contained poison. And on the night in question, there were no visitors to the room except the accused. The young gasman's testimony, which we've had no reason to doubt, has confirmed that. Furthermore, the only possible way the poison could have entered the victim's body is via the tea. The court has seen no evidence whatsoever that suggests otherwise. Even if William Shakespeare is the liar you claim him to be, these facts have been objectively established. There's no escaping it. Therefore, in light of these facts, the prosecution calls for immediate adjudication. What? Guys, come on. Order! Order! Well, counsel, how does the defense respond? Mr. Naruhodo? What was the point of that last cross-examination? Did it actually get us anywhere? Or did it make no difference at all, like Lord Van Zeeks is saying? Well, we can't just wait and see. Time to raise an objection. No, this isn't over. The defense will not rest. What? But, counsel, you've successfully explained everything. You've identified and substantiated the unscrupulous method employed by Mr. Shakespeare to consume gas. What more is there to discuss? Lord Van Zeeks just highlighted 3 facts in order to make his point. But contrary to what he would have the court believe, not all of them have been objectively established at all. What are you trying to say, my Nipponese friend? At least one of those so-called facts is an assumption made due to a lack of evidence. But the situation has changed now following the cross-examination of the latest witnesses to take the stand. Don't be absurd! What is this nonsense? Yes, when you bring up everything we've learned so far, and consider it as a whole, it's clear. There's a question that we now need to reconsider, namely, was there poison in the tea? We've all been led to believe that the strychnine poison that afflicted Mr. Shakespeare was in the tea brought to him by Mr. Natsume, but that's conjecture at best.
Objection!
The victim has testified that nothing else passed his lips that night. There is no other possibility. And since there was no trace of the tea left at the scene, it couldn't be tested for traces of the poison.
Objection!
As I said, the situation has changed. Because in fact, some of Mr. Natsume's tea was left at the scene. And a particular piece of evidence proves it.
Objection!
A ludicrous claim. Scotland Yard detectives investigated the scene exhaustively. What evidence are you suggesting they missed? The defense has made a bold claim indeed. Very well, counsel. Present your proof. What evidence from the scene of the crime can tell us about the nature of the defendant's tea? You can clearly see a tea ring on this mug. I'm like, what were they talking about?
Take that!
What exactly is this piece of evidence supposed to reveal about Mr. Natsume's tea, counsel? What? Okay, I guess not. There's a tea ring. There's evidence there. God. Even at the bottom of the deepest chasm, you will find no sense of that absurd assertion. God. Alright. Come on. Sometimes I wish I could disappear down a deep chasm to escape his deep sarcasm. Then I advise you to think more deeply before you answer again this time. Sorry, I was so sure of that. Well. Penalty. Alright. Now that isn't what I have to present, Well, this is wrong,
Take
but
that!
yeah. No, that's definitely not it. I was thinking we could use that corner of the envelope as a vessel to hold the poison for the tea.
Take that!
Good gracious! The soap again! The same bar the victim used to fashion his coins of ice! Yes, that's right, my lord. It's just come back to me. Something about when we first found this bar of soap at the scene yesterday. It's more bars of soap! Soap? What are bars of soap doing lined up on a ledge outside the window? I'm quite certain that when we originally stumbled upon the bars of soap, there was actually a frozen coin in each bar. So you discovered the gas thief's coin factory. Fascinating. In a way, yes. But there's more. The coins we found in the soap at the time weren't normal ice. There was something strange about them, you mean? Exactly. Something very obviously strange. They were red. The ice was red? No. You mean... That's right. It's obvious to me now. The fake coins in the soap were made from frozen tea. What? I would remind the court of a statement made by Mr. Natsume earlier in this trial. That evening, yes, I did take some freshly brewed tea with me when I visited Mr. Shamspeare's room as a gift. The public water pump outside always freezes at night, so I bought bottled water especially to make it. And this is the result. Never will I touch tea again. Never! Yes. I believe there had been a snowfall that day. It was particularly cold. Sadly, on such occasions, the poorly constructed water mains in the East End are prone to freezing. So, on the night in question, Mr. Shamspere, having no running water to use, was forced to use the tea brought by Mr. Natsume in order to make his fake coins. My word! There were 2 bars of soap on the window ledge when my judicial assistant and I investigated the scene. That's right, and we only borrowed one of them. Which means that even as we speak, some of the defendant's tea is still present at the scene of the crime, frozen solid in a bar of soap outside Mr. Shamspeare's window. Extraordinary! Earlier today, Inspector Gregson informed the court that if even one drop of the tea remained, Scotland Yard would be able to analyze it for poison. As such, we are now in a position to prove or disprove what has until now been mere conjecture, by finding out for sure whether or not Mr. Natsume's tea actually contained strychnine at all. Ah! You smug Nipponese! My lord, we cannot do to the defendant the injustice of passing judgment now. The police should be dispatched to recover the remaining bar of soap from the scene at once. And the defense requests a thorough analysis of the frozen tea embedded in it, to determine whether or not it contains any poison. Bailiff! Bailiff! Instruct the police to attend to the scene at once. Yes, my lord. Understood. Damn, this is crazy, though. It would seem we have no choice but to suspend these proceedings for the time being. I trust you have no objection, Lord Van Zeeks. None, my lord. Scotland Yard will recover the tea from the scene and carry out the requisite tests immediately. The trial will resume at the same hour tomorrow. The prosecution and defense may conduct further investigations as appropriate in the interim. Yes, my lord. Oh god, 2-day trials. We're doing it. Oh no. Guess we need to find ourselves some more evidence. Well, we managed to scrape through there somehow. Thank you, counsels. Court is adjourned until tomorrow. Fucking Shamsphere, man. I hate this guy already. Obviously I'm gonna keep going for a little longer. I was planning to have my stream yesterday just be the whole trial and be like 2 hours, but I guess not. So, we're gonna keep going. Don't know if I'll finish the entire investigation, but we'll see. I'm planning to go till at least noon. So, I mean, I got like 2 hours and a bit. And if like I'm close, then I'm close. So I'm gonna keep going. So, yeah, let's just keep going. As long as nothing bad happens. 22nd of February, 1:11 p.m. Naruhodo's Legal Consultancy. We made it back in one piece. Just. To be perfectly honest, I thought we were finished there for a while. Oh, I know. What a lot of close shaves. There are so many carriages on the streets of London, you were barely nearly flattened several times. Oh, no, I didn't mean that. Yes, I know. It was a marvelous defense, Naruhodo-san. It really was. I was in awe of you. Oh, thank you. And now that your fervent exploits have won us some more precious investigation time, let's see if we can't find some new clues for court tomorrow. Yes, let's do that. Is everything alright? I suppose I still can't quite believe it, and that's all. That I'm here in England, working as a lawyer, I mean. In the Old Bailey, no less. The truth is, it shouldn't be me, should it? It should be him standing in my shoes. It should be Kazuma. It was Kazuma-sama's wish that you follow him to Great Britain and work alongside him. Yes, I mean, I never had the chance to ask him exactly why, but he clearly had a plan. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for him. And you're doing wonderfully, Naruhodo-san. I've no doubt that Kazuma-sama would say exactly the same if he were here with us. Thank you, Suzato-san. Thank you. Hey, Suzato. How do you feel about this? You've been wearing that ever since we arrived in Great Britain, haven't you? Well, it's what shows that I'm a lawyer, so it seems appropriate. I'm not sure that it really means much in this country, though, I'm afraid. I wouldn't say that. It might not be official, but it looks official. Often when the police stop me, I just show them this and they leave me alone. You're stopped by the police? Often? Well, you know, I'm a suspicious foreigner dressed in all black with a sword at my side. I do think it's probably the sword that's the main reason. Still, it makes me happy to see you wearing it, and the armband. Yes, I made up my mind that I'll carry them always. The symbol of who I am, and the sword Karma. Well, the one may certainly be cold, but it's Dr. Pepper, not alcohol. It was quite a shock earlier today, wasn't it? When the victim himself turned up in court and took the stand. I know. Not only that, but then finding out that he's actually a barefaced gas thief as well. Yes, that was certainly a surprise to us all. For a while, it seemed as though everyone had quite forgotten about Soseki-san poisoning the tea. Careful of your phrasing, Suzato-san. He didn't poison anything. And there's more to this Mr. Shamspear than we yet know. I'm sure of it. Mr. Shamspear certainly wasn't the noble, upstanding man everyone thought he was at first. What's become of him, actually? I was told that he'd be returning to the hospital ward where he was receiving treatment. Oh, which one is that? Let me see. Ah yes, he's at St. Bartholomew's, or Bart's, as Londoners call it. We know that place, don't we? Yes, we visited Miss Green there yesterday. It's the same hospital to which she was taken. Ah yes, after Soseki-san stabbed her in the back. Do be careful of your phrasing, Naruhodo-san. He didn't stab anyone. Perhaps we both owe Soseki-san an apology. Damn. St. Bartholomew's. Yes, we should probably visit the hospital later. After all, we just put Soseki-san there, so, you know, we might have wished him well. So, we know that Soseki-san took tea to the victim on the night in question. But as he isn't the culprit, then obviously... Yes, the poison surely wasn't in the tea. But if that's the case, how on earth did the poison get into Mr. Shamspeare's body? I'm sure we'll find a clue at the scene. There must be something in Mr. Shamspeare's room that will help solve the mystery. Well, naturally, Scotland Yard detectives have been over the place already. But it couldn't hurt for us to have another look around, I think. Definitely. And I'm desperate to know the outcome of the investigation into the tea left in the bar of soap. Well, if we run to Inspector Gregson, we could ask him about that. Kazuma Osogi, the best friend I ever had, and a lawyer with such promise. He really saved my bacon in that horrible incident just before we left Japan. I can still picture him now, looking so fierce and determined in court, and gallant and dashing. And then, after that trial, the crazy idea he came up with. As a stowaway? Yes, you can fit inside my trunk if you curl up small enough, I'm sure. No one will know. Kazuma, won't you tell me why? Why go to these lengths so that I can accompany you to Great Britain? Well, it's been on my mind ever since we got through that trial. That you really ought to go into law. Be a defense lawyer. You've got a natural talent for it. Believe me, I guarantee it. But I've never even thought about becoming a lawyer. Well, I can't force you, obviously. You'll have to decide for yourself. But anyway, London is the cultural capital of the world, the city at the forefront of everything. It can't hurt for you to see it with your own eyes. No, that's true. I suppose, though, if you were to become a lawyer, then one day... One day what? Oh, no. Never mind. Damn it, Kazuma, you owe us answers! Now you're dead, you son of a bitch! Although, I'm still holding out hope that he's actually alive. That this is all just some elaborate ruse cooked up by Inspector Hosonaga. It's like, oh, we gotta pretend he's dead. Let's quickly ship him out of the country, and then like... But why the fuck would they do that? I don't fucking know. I'm just desperate. I'm clinging to straws. That's what I'm doing. Naruhodo-san? Oh, sorry. I was just thinking about Kazuma. Yes. He's forever in my thoughts, too. To change the Japanese judicial system for the better, that was his dream. This isn't Trails. I know it isn't Trails. I just want it to be so badly. And that's why he so desperately wanted to come to Great Britain to study, of course. Yes, that's right, but... Yes? I do wonder if his true intentions lay elsewhere, sometimes. I don't know. The thought just takes hold of me every now and then, that's all. Well, they killed off Maya, but she comes back in every trial because of, you know, spirit medium bullshit. Maybe we need some spirit medium bullshit. Is Maya Fey's ancestor living in London right now? Can we ask her to channel up Kazuma for us? Naruhodo-san, what do you mean by Kazuma-sama's true intentions? I mean, this. His katana? I never expected to inherit the sword after Kazuma passed away, of course. No, I know. It was because I asked you to take it. When I have it at my side in court, I feel as though it gives me courage. Yes. Actually, the night before he died, he told me a little about the sword. Karma? That's right. It's a prized sword that's been passed through generations of the Asogi clan. A Japanese man's sword is his soul, Ryunosuke. that can't be parted from my katana. Karma guides me. I truly believe that. So its name compels its wielder to slice evil in two? Not that you would need much compelling. On that subject, there's something very important that I have to do in Great Britain. Something you have to do? Yes. I'd appreciate you seeing it through with me. Of course I will. Whatever it is, I'll see it through to the end with you. I knew you wouldn't let me down. I mean, technically they did, but this world isn't like a perfect one-to-one recreation. Obviously, there were still samurais with their top knots, according to Takatsuchi Ouchi. What did he mean by something very important that I have to do? I had hoped that the answer to that question would become apparent when we arrived here, but as yet, I've not found a single clue. I see. Alright, let's get examining. Well, there were, and then Ouchi took a Susato L. A Ryotaro L, that's right. A Ryotaro Mambami double takedown. No. That was many memo-san. That's just my many memoisms. Well, let's say hi to Shomes and Iris before we go. Maybe they have some new news for us. 22nd of February. Shomes' suite. Oh, Runo and Susie! Hooray! You're back! Hello, Iris. You're in fine spirits as always, I see. I am. And you look as immaculately presented as ever, Susie. Oh, you flatter me. Well, you couldn't have come at a better time. I've just made a pot of tea. I'll set some cups. Really? Thanks, Iris. But actually, what is that foul smell? Aha! The Wanderers return at last. Where on earth have the pair of you been? We've been in court? Oh, for Mr. Mustache's case. That was today, wasn't it? I'm sure I mentioned it only yesterday, Mr. Shomes. I'm sure you think you did! Ha ha ha! Well, we can laugh about it now. So tell me, how did the trial go? Reasonably well so far. We've managed to escape without a guilty verdict, at least. Really? I would have liked to see it. And I must pass the time of day with Mr. Reaper again. It's been too long. Is Lord Van Zeek's an acquaintance, Mr. Shomes? Naturally. There's not a person in the world who doesn't know my name, Mr. Naruhodo. Not quite what I asked, but still. Mr. Shomes, whatever is that odor? Yes, what is it? It's faint, but absolutely awful. Ah, indeed. That's the scent of victory, my dear fellows. Victory in science. Oh dear. Alright, I'll bite. What's he up to now? Lord Beric von Zeeks. Yes, it is an interesting sobriquet he has, isn't it? The Reaper of the Bailey. Once the legendary prosecutor has fought for someone's conviction, that person is doomed. Even if he or she is found not guilty by the courts, sooner or later the hapless soul will vanish from the capital. But vanish how, exactly? By falling under a passing carriage, or drowning in the Thames, or succumbing to a sudden fever, or quite out of the blue being set upon by a highwayman. There are numerous routes to one's final terminus, dear fellow. It all seems a little far-fetched, really. Well, on the bright side, Mr. Mustache is fighting fit, for the time being at least. That's not overly reassuring. If the rumors are true, though, the obvious conclusion would surely be that those acquitted are, well, by Lord Van Zeek's own hand? As it happens, Miss Susato, that is quite impossible. Oh? Why? Naturally, the man very quickly came under such suspicion. However, whenever these incidents occurred, the Reaper always had a cast-iron alibi. Really? And so his reign continued. But 5 years ago, he vanished from the courts, never to appear as a prosecutor again. That is, until you arrived in the country, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, so I've heard. In fact, it was the very day I arrived, when I was thrust into that trial at the Old Bailey. That bitter fight to the death coincided with the Reaper's resurrection. And really did end bitterly indeed. And here you are, facing Mr. Reaper again. Poor Runo. I don't know if you're just incredibly unlucky, or incredibly unlikable. I think it goes deeper than just me. I sense a general loathing of all Japanese people. Well, let's figure out what the odor is later. With Mr. Natsume, who I'm currently defending, being Japanese as well as Miss Uzato and myself, I felt it even more keenly in court today. For some reason, Lord Van Zeek seems to have an inherent disdain of the Japanese. Indeed, it is an interesting observation. Do you know something about it? Do you, Mr. Sholmes? It was about 10 years ago that Baroque Van Zeek chose to enter the legal profession. However, before that time, the young man's closest companion hailed from the Empire of Japan. No! What the? Tell us more, Mr. Sholmes. What happened? I believe I've made it clear before. I'm unable to tell you anything about the affair. Oh, but... Come on, you can't just tease us like that, Mr. Sholmes. The veil will be lifted on the events of the past in due course, I have no doubt. For now, however, it is Mr. Mustache who is most deserving of your attention, I believe. God damn it, Sholmes, you can't tease us like that. So, what is that indescribably foul smell? Ah, well, most probably this, I would say. What is that? My dear fellow, it is of course my latest invention. A chemical test that can identify whether or not a tea is genuine at the drop of some tea. Oh my. There are some unscrupulous sorts manning the stalls along some of London's less frequented streets. They regularly sell what purports to be high-quality tea, but is in fact merely dyed leaves of drab flavor. Well, that's certainly unsavory behavior. So, when one is presented with what appears to be black tea, one must be careful. Iris! At the ready, Hurley. Let us add a drop of my chemical to this cup of tea here. Do you see what happens? It turned completely black. And what a foul odor it's giving off. Indeed. The blacker the tea becomes, the more foul the odor. The better the tea is. It would appear that this cup was a particularly fine Darjeeling. That's very ingenious, but what do you do with that black liquid now? Why, dispose of it naturally. Surely you wouldn't like to drink it, would you? There does seem to be a rather obvious problem with your new invention, Mr. Sholmes. Hence why this chemical test is merely a test, my dear madame. Right. The point is, we are entering a new era of science, in the world of criminal investigation also. Yes, forensic science. Oh, these are such exciting times. I regularly engage in this scientific experimentation, alongside my unofficial consulting detective work. The Herlock-Sholmes method will be the foundation upon which modern investigative technique is based. This little tea indicant was a happy byproduct of my ongoing forensic science research. Forensic science? Suppose I should find out more about that. So, your T-test, is that an example of forensic science? Indeed it is. An essential tool in cases that hinge on the knowledge of whether some tea is of high or inferior quality. Not a huge number of cases, then. Got a funny feeling this T-test is gonna come up in court. Nah, that never happens. Perhaps a more practical example is required. Fingerprints? Not yet accepted in our courts as evidence, I might add. Really, we are dragging our heels there. I haven't even heard of them until recently. Which is partly why I undertake research in this field myself, of course. Does that mean you're studying fingerprints, Mr. Sholmes? There are others in that field already, and I abhor the company of inferior minds. No, what I'm researching is skin prints. Skin prints? A nomenclature of my own design, as is this chemical agent that makes it possible. It instantly reveals objects touched by whichever person is under investigation. Brilliant, Mr. Sholmes. As long as it doesn't turn everything completely odorous and black. Probably whatever technique he uses won't be admissible in court. Nope. I assure you, my dear fellows, you will soon witness my forensic talents in action. Very soon indeed. Well, I think we should go back to the scene and see if we can uncover any new clues. That's the spirit, Runo. See you later. Yes, until later. No, Mr. Sholmes, we were thinking you'd come with us. You were? Yes, of course. You said so just a moment ago. You said we'd witness your forensic talents in action. Ah, yes, I do recall saying something along those lines. But you go on ahead. I shall be sure to follow you later. In all likelihood. Probably. Maybe. Well, I might. Your commitment astounds me. Oh, thank you, Mr. Sholmes. We'll eagerly await your arrival. Bye-bye, Runo. Bye, Susie. Let's just keep going down the list, shall we? This place probably isn't relevant to our investigation, but it's on the list, so maybe it is. What do you suppose is happening? It sounds like some sort of disturbance. Yes, I hear angry voices. Oh. Be not angry, O ample lady, verily, thou art mistaken. Mistaken my foot! You were looking at my painting! The eye of man hath not heard, the ear of man hath not seen. 'Twas foul indeed the poison that mustached villain gaveth me. Forgive me, lady. I wish that you died from that poison. God a mercy, ample lady, but thou seest I have vigor still. Behold my Shakespeare dance. I am beholding with awe and applause. This looks rather ominous, doesn't it? Ah! Look, 'tis the lawyer from the land whence rises the sun. How now? What are you doing here, Mr. Shakespeare? Mary, I do believe I am returned unto another world. He was looking, that's what he was doing. Looking at my terrible work. Shakespeare's about to enter Britain's Got Talent. You know what, yeah, let's just call him Shakespeare from now on. Eastern fellow so darkly clad. Faith, thy work in court this morning was wonderful. I do applaud thee. Oh, well, thank you. But that doesn't mean things will go so wonderfully for you tomorrow, does it? Anon, exeunt. Mr. Shakespeare might technically be the victim in this case, but there's definitely a lot more to it than that. It's very hard to pin the man down. Oop, give me a second. Sorry about that. Got a random phone call all of a sudden.
I'm so sorry. I'm such an awful person.
Oh, Miss Green, is everything alright?
Oh, yes, I mean, don't worry about me. They're about to discharge me, so I must get ready to leave now.
Oh, I see.
We're delighted that you'll soon be well enough to go home, Miss Green. Oh dear, you're too kind. I don't deserve it.
Let's examine our friend here.
A mouse, Mr. Naruhodo! An enormous mouse!
Vermin in a hospital? That doesn't seem the best.
But it looks like a very healthy specimen, doesn't it? It's very plump.
I'm not sure we can say that's down to the excellence of this facility, if that's what you were thinking. Oh, I've seen that one already. Alright. There are lots of bottles in that cabinet, aren't there? Do you think it's safe to keep them like that? If you were a patient here, I feel sure you'd take some medicine by mistake when you were half asleep. That is a worry, but at least the cabinet has a lock, even if it's only a flimsy-looking one.
Oh, I've no doubt you managed to unlock that somehow while you were half asleep as well.
There are limits even to what I can do when I'm half asleep, you know, Miss Susato. Oh, this looks like the treatment notes for whoever's occupying this bed. Let's see. Do not permit to run around the hospital. The patient doesn't seem to be here at the moment, so he or she is probably running around the hospital then.
Oh dear, how worrying.
What's worrying is why they haven't discharged the patient yet. Oh, this looks like the patient's treatment notes. Let's see. Do not feed. What is this place, a zoo?
You know, I seem to remember seeing an almost identical sign in our local park.
For the pigeons, yes. This is a person. Poor woman. I hope she hasn't read this. There are all sorts of medicines in this cabinet, look. I'm not sure if it's safe leaving them in reach of everyone like this.
Yes, you're right. I can imagine that if you were peckish, you might try a whole bottle or two.
Well, at least there seems to be a little lock to secure the cabinet doors.
I don't imagine that would stop you if you were hungry. I worry that you'd break the lock.
Hunger doesn't turn me into a criminal, you know, Miss Susato. So, are you feeling more like yourself today, Miss Green?
I am. Thank you. I mean, people do recover from ordeals like this, don't they? Even people like me.
Well, yes, it really was an ordeal, wasn't it?
As far as I was concerned, I was just walking along in the snow one evening minding my own business. And then completely out of the blue, I was struck in the back by a knife and collapsed unconscious for days. Of course, when I finally woke up again yesterday, the whole business had been cleared up already.
What a terrible week it's been for you.
Oh no, I'm sure I'm very lucky, really. I'll look back on this fondly.
Really?
Anyway, I must be getting my things together now, so I'm ready to be discharged.
Oh, yes, of course. Sorry to take up your time when you're obviously busy. Second February, Mr. Natsume's lodgings. Ground floor. I mean, this is Shamster's lodgings, though. Oh, hello again, Inspector Gregson. What are you doing here? Well, we were hoping to have another look around, actually. The lawyer representing the defendant has a right to examine the scene, as I'm sure you're aware. Yeah, I know the score. Oh, yes, one other thing. The soap on the ledge outside the window. Did you find it? With the tea in it? Yeah, we found it all right. And there was a small amount of tea in it, as you said. I knew it!
It's with the identification section at the yard now. They're looking into it. The results should be available later today.
That's wonderful news, thank you.
Pretty impressive performance in court this morning.
Sorry?
Nothing. Forget it. Just make sure you don't disturb anything in here.
Aw, Gregson, are you warming up to us? Also, hi, Sholmes, I see you. Are you looking for new clues, Inspector?
On Lord Van Zeek's orders, yeah. Don't come back till you got something for me, he says. Tss.
Oh dear, poor you.
Yeah, poor me, because we've already searched every bleeding nook and cranny in this place. I don't know what he expects, to be honest. Thank goodness for warm chips is all I can say.
Well, at least he's honest. Mr. Sholmes, what are you up to over there? What a question indeed. Was it not your good self who asked me to attend the scene?
Oi! What are you doing here, Sholmes?
What are you up to over there? What are you doing here? Dear me, once a great detective, one is always under scrutiny, it seems. Is now the time, Mr. Sholmes? Are you about to show us your forensic talents in action as you promised? With the greatest of pleasure, my dear madame.
What's all this?
All this is precisely what you requested, Mr. Naruhodo. Herlock Sholmes' sensational skin print seeker gun. Moments ago, I took a sample from the teacup that was used by the victim. A sample from Mr. Shamspeare's cup? Each individual leaves microscopic secretions on everything he or she touches. A sample of those secretions is all I need to produce this, a refined indicator solution. By liberally spraying the room with this chemical, everything the victim touched is instantly revealed with the aid of these goggles. Here, try them on. There, now, spray the chemical indicator about and all will be revealed. How do I do that exactly? A little press of A on the area you're interested in is all that's required. Like this. Oh, what is that stuff? It's like fog. A suspension of the chemical indicator in a pressurized gas. It's the most efficient way to cover a large area. That was another invention I discovered incidentally whilst I was developing this idea. As you do. Go ahead. Try it, my dear fellow. We may learn something interesting about the victim's movements on the night in question. Well, there's nothing to lose, I suppose. Let's explore. Look, there are dozens of handprints here. So there are, a great many indeed. So much so that it's hard to make out any one individual print, in fact. It sends a chill down my spine. Perhaps he was leaning against the wall while he admired this picture? Unlikely, I would say. It's a rather dull scene after all. And without wishing to state the obvious, you wouldn't generally admire a picture from such close quarters, I feel. Oh, very true, Mrs. Otto. It's a bit of a mystery, then. Cover everything. Oh, look at all this here. Ah, yes, interesting. A multitude of the victim's handprints. Why are there so many of them on the floor in this one spot? Perhaps he had a bad fall just here. There's nothing obvious that he would have tripped over, though, is there? I wonder. Personally, I often stumble when there's nothing obvious to trip over. I think that's something only a great detective would do, Mr. Sholmes. Well, this is quite a puzzle. Handprints all over the floor. Yeah, there's no obvious explanation. Well, we sprayed Mr. Sholmes' amazing skin print indicator all over this room, didn't we? We did, but there are 2 places in particular that are of interest, I would say. The handprints on the floor there, and on the wall by the picture, you mean? Yes, and I think the floor warrants closer investigation. I won't be a moment. What is it, Miss Susato? Look here, Mr. Naruhodo. One of the floorboards has popped out. One of the... You mean... It's a secret hiding place? Excellent work, Miss Susato. So, what do we have in here?
Oi! What are you lot doing?
Inspector Gregson.
Stand aside right this minute. It's my job to investigate there.
No need, Inspector. You continue to dig into your portion of chips, whilst we dig around under the floor here.
Your fancy talk's putting me off my food anyway, Sholmes. New bit of evidence is exactly what I need.
Wow, a secret hiding place under the floor. What a find. It's not a hiding place you could make use of in Japan. I don't think I could lift a straw to Tommy Matt. No, I know. But I never expected one of these wooden floorboards to move either. It's got me wondering about the wall over there too. Aren't you curious? I'll investigate it once. There's nothing behind the picture, sadly. Only the wall. How disappointing. But then, how do you explain the handprints? I really can't think why anyone would have been touching the wall over and over in one place like that. There you are, a print for you. Oh, thank you very much. His invention can make prints too? Now then. I wonder if Inspector Gregson has found anything under the floor there. I'm desperate to know. So am I. I'd love to know if there's anything hidden underneath that floorboard there. Allow me to ask Gregson now. After all, we're well acquainted. Inspector Gregson! Really, it's been too long.
What is it, Sholmes?
I thought perhaps you might show me what you found there, seeing as we're such good friends.
We're not friends.
No, I suppose not. A dismal failure! Yes, I heard. Kill to know what was under that floorboard. It's a beating heart, that's what it is.
Alright then. Fair's fair.
What?
You did discover the hiding place after all. I suppose I should at least fill you in.
Really, Inspector? Thank you. Do it quickly, my dear fellow. If there's one thing I know about this man, it's that he blows with the wind, as fickle as the weather.
Oi, stop making me out to be some kind of nut. There are 3 items under the floor there. A newspaper clipping, a photographic
Holy crap, I can't talk.
There are 3 items under the floor there. Newspaper clipping, a photographic print, and a tin box. Now, what do you want to know? Looks like this was cut out of the paper about 3 months ago. It's about a convict who got sick and died while he was serving time up in Manchester.
How terrible.
Made the headlines down here in London as well. The bloke had been sentenced to death, you see. But nature got him first.
Oh my goodness, he committed a capital offense?
Man by the name of Selden. Nasty piece of work, into burglaries and murder. Say the hoard he knocked off was worth about 1,000 pounds. A hoard? Of treasure, you mean? Jewelry and the like, but he'd hidden it somewhere and no one knows where. And now he's dead. The papers loved it, of course. 1,000 pounds lost en route to hell, or some such was the headline.
Does it not strike you, though? Why such an article would be so carefully ensconced under the floor?
I suppose now you mention it, it does seem a bit odd. Perhaps I'll go over the paperwork we've got in Selden back to the yard and see if I can turn anything up. So, this is the photograph I found. Looks reasonably recent to me.
Yes, it would appear to have been taken on the street in front of the house here. And the gentleman on the left is Mr. Garadeb, the landlord, of course. But who's the young man on the right? Mr. Garadeb's son, perhaps?
Perhaps. You can take that print if you like.
Really? Are you sure? We can presume, therefore, that the yard already knows. The identity of the young fellow, that is. Is that true?
Well, it's too bad if we do. Fortunately for you lot, leaking information isn't one of my pastimes.
My dear Inspector, if I may be so bold as to point something out. Pastimes are for one's leisure, but this is work.
All the more reason I'm not telling you.
A dismal failure! Yes, I heard. I wonder why a photograph like this was hidden under the floor. I mean, Mr. Shamspeare himself isn't in it. Photographic prints are still rare treasures in the East End. I imagine Mr. Garadeb was rather delighted to have been immortalized. He probably made a proud present of it.
Now, this tin box looks interesting, doesn't it?
Might I suggest, Inspector, that you open it? If you were to find something inside that reveals the truth behind this case, I wouldn't be in the least bit surprised.
Yeah, funnily enough, I've already had a look. It's completely empty.
What? Shamspeare, give us a clue, man! You didn't even have the chance to utter a word, Mr. Naruhodo. But anyway, at least we found out what's inside the box. Yes, thin air. It's empty. Rather like how I feel inside. Is there nothing more to this box then? I wonder. Wagahai. Oh look, it's that lovely little kitty cat. What was its name? It's Mr. Natsume's, isn't it? I don't think we ever asked him, actually. Why don't we call it, Wagahai? You know, like Mr. Natsume refers to himself in Japanese. I wonder how he got in here. Clever cat. Oh, wonderful. Well then, Wagahai, here's something delicious I bought for you from the cat's meat man. Meow. Meow. Good kitty. He couldn't be happier now, look. I just hope we can bring some happiness to his owner, too. Okay, let us examine behind this. There's clearly a way... There's clearly something going on back there. But I guess not. So it turns out that Mr. Shamspeare wasn't eating the soap at all. That's right. The mystery why he had it on a plate whilst holding a fork in his hand is solved. Yes, to prize his latest ice coin out of its mold. And in the process, he accidentally broke the bar of soap in two. It certainly was hard to imagine, let alone deduce. The ill-fated teacups from which the two men drank on the ill-fated night. During their heated literary debate, yes. Who's stronger, Romeo or Juliet? Sounds like it was quite a discussion. Now I think about it, I'm sure the two lovers in the play ended their lives with poison. That's fiction, Miss Usato. Let's hope it stays that way. If you ran out of change, you wouldn't even have any light, let alone heat. For the needy, London's winters can be very harsh. That's true, but if you think about it, even the wealthy would find themselves freezing if they ran out of small change. London's winters can be very harsh for the forgetful too, then. Frankly, I'm starting to wonder if Susato and I are going to make it to spring. That's true. We don't even have a meter at Baker Street, let alone a gas stove. Look how dark the stain on the floor is underneath the meter there. Yes, from all the water dripping out after the ice coins melted, as you established in court this morning. It's a very large and obvious stain, isn't it? Mr. Shamspeare must have used an awful lot of ice coins, I suppose. It was an ingenious idea, I'll give him that. The sun never shines in this room, thanks to that depressing bricked-up window. Yet, with enough determination, you can always remove the bricks to set some soap outside, can't you? It sounds like a very wise life lesson, Miss Usato. Only if you plan to follow a life of crime, Mr. Naruhodo. Aww. Kitty. That was a cheeky little meow, Wagahai. Oh, but he's so adorable! I could sit and watch him forever. I think he may not appreciate that after a while. And we have an investigation to get back to. Will we find something on the road here? Probably not, but... London's blanketed in fog again today, and the sky is covered in cloud. But if you look carefully in the distance, you can just make out the Crystal Tower being built. Oh, the Crystal Tower, yes! The centerpiece of the Great Exhibition that's to open in 6 months' time. Everyone's talking about the Great Exhibition of London at the moment, it seems. Well, it's to be the largest event of its kind anywhere in the world, with technology and scientists from all over. I can't wait for it myself. Do you think visiting students from the Far East like us will be granted entry? The last great exhibit that was held in London had more than 6 million visitors, it seems. And this time, the British are determined to make it an even bigger success to outdo the Paris Exposition. I see. It's an incredible number of people. And with so many people expected to attend, we should easily be able to slip in unnoticed. There's always the honest approach of buying tickets to the main entrance, Mr. Naruhodo. Well, let's ask Mr. Garrett about this photograph, shall we? Or not, I guess he's not here. Mr. Gyaradev appears to be out. Oh well. I suppose we'll just have to come back again later. We probably shouldn't poke around here while Mr. Gyardev's out. This is the perfect time to poke around, guys. Local prison, cell 9. Oh, Mr. Natsume's back. So he is. Mr. Natsume, hello. I am a cat. Sorry? I don't know who Mr. Natsume is, or Hairlock Sholmes. I don't know about courts or trials or Old Baileys. I am a cat. That's what I am. Just a cat. Mr. Naruhodo, he's trying to escape from reality. Trying to? He already has. Completely. So, what is your name then? As yet, I have no name. Mr. Naruhodo, he hasn't fully thought out his new identity yet. Maybe it's not too late to bring him back to reality. Do you think you could open your eyes for us, Mr. Natsume? I am not a cat. It worked! He's back in the real world. What's going to become of me? No! Don't answer that! It's obvious! My accursed soul is never going to escape this accursed fate! Mr. Natsume, no! This morning's proceedings in court prove that there's hope. Yes. Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire was brilliant, but the Reaper is omnipresent in court, in my lodgings, here, there, everywhere. What's he looking straight at me for? I think perhaps there are some things we should discuss. Oh, yes, we must. In my whole life, have I ever been so moved as I was today? No! Of course, if I cast my mind back, there were perhaps one or two other occasions that moved me more. But if I just block those out, then today, being in that courtroom was the most moving experience of my life. Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. You're too kind. Scotland Yard found the remaining tea just as we deduced, and are analyzing it as we speak. There's nothing wrong with that tea. They won't find a drop of poison in it. That's a solemn, sworn, so seki certainty. Tell me, did you both drink the tea at the same time that night? Oh yes, most definitely. Remember, drink tea while it's hot. We both poured it down our throats like it was a hot bath for our bellies. And at the time, you were both completely fine. As shown by the fact that he and Mr. Shamsphere then engaged in the Romeo and Juliet match. I suppose the focus of tomorrow's proceedings will be how the poison was taken by the victim then. That rotten Shamsphere! What have I ever done to him? You don't recall him taking issue with you over anything you've done recently? I've been holed up in my room, immersed in books. I don't recall anything. Anything at all. Right. But what I don't understand is why he didn't let me know sooner. Let you know what, Mr. Natsume? About the soap, of course. What else? Oh, dear. Are you struggling with such a meager stipend? Of course I am. If I had money, I wouldn't have chosen to live an accursed existence in such accursed lodgings. Oh yes, you said it's because the place is cursed that it's so cheap, didn't you? Exactly! Especially the room that I rent. The spirit of that capital offender who lived there still haunts the place,
and it's trying to kill me! Capital offender? Might I ask, locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, the next time you visit me, you bring scores of super soft soaps? Mr. Natsume, it's nothing much, but... it's been too long since I've been offered a present with that delightfully humble etiquette of our homeland. What? You're too kind. I accept it gladly. Sorry, but I wasn't trying to give it to you, actually. What's this? It's a newspaper cutting that we found in Mr. Shamspeare's room. Oh, so he knew, did he? Sorry. About this man, Selden. A convicted killer, and the evil spirit behind the curse that afflicts my lodgings. What? He's already taken one young man's life, and now he's trying to take the life of another. A miserable, mustached, much maligned Japanese man. Mr. Natsume, if you know something, please, you must tell us. Tell us everything you can about this evil spirit. The truth is, I didn't know the details myself until very recently. That Selden man was arrested about a year ago now, and at the time he was hiding out in lodgings at Mr. Garadeb's house. What? He lived where you do now? That's right, yes. Exactly where I live now. In my very room. Oh my. Your room was previously occupied by a criminal found guilty of a capital offense? But before his sentence could be carried out, he died in prison. That was 3 months ago now. And that's when it started. The curse. What really is this curse you keep mentioning, Mr. Natsume? It's already caused one death, a few months after the criminal passed away in prison. A man died in the room. The man who rented it after Selden, in fact. The poor lodger, he was found dead in mysterious circumstances. The room was locked from the inside. Locked from the inside? Exactly like the case we're dealing with now. So that's the convict's curse, is it? Yes, well, that was the start of it. Do you have any idea how the lodger before you passed away, Mr. Natsume? The official cause of death was asphyxia. When they discovered the body, the room was full of gas. Gas? I only found that out after I'd signed the lease. When Mr. Garadeb came to tell me later, I couldn't stop myself trembling. In fact, if I'd known beforehand, I'd probably been too scared to take the room. Landlord's lease, luckily legal. Lucky for Mr. Garadeb, maybe, but not so lucky for poor Mr. Natsume. And now you believe this curse is affecting you? It is, at first. I just felt as though I was being watched. All the time. And then you talked about having nightmares, didn't you? The dead are trying to take me with them. They come for me and try to suffocate me. Just when I'm struggling to breathe, I wake up. And the room is as cold as ice. But why is your room so cold? London winters are too cold to bear without any heating on overnight. But for some reason, even though I light the stove before I climb into bed at night, the pilot light always goes out and the room fills with gas. But that's terrible. It's exactly the same situation as what led to the previous occupant's death. And then there's what happened to Mr. Shamspeare last night, when he was mysteriously poisoned. There's clearly more to that incident that can be explained by a curse, though. Whatever can be the cause of all these strange happenings in Mr. Garadeb's rooms? Wait, I don't want to converse, I want to... I doubt this will do anything for me. Nope.
Have I shown you this before, Mr. Natsume? Oh, yes, the sweet, sweet aroma of our beloved homeland. It shows that the wearer is a defense lawyer. It means nothing in Great Britain, of course, but I still wear it. Oh, I know exactly how you feel, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. My Haramaki belly band. I don't feel right without it. Your Haramaki belly band? It's perfect for the cold English winters. Just the thing to keep my tummy warm. Yes, I see the link. Almost. Mr. Natsume, about this receipt. It occurs to me now that it was those confounded books that saw me arrested the first time, too. Oh, yes, I suppose that's true. After I spent my precious pennies on them, that's the thanks I get. Now I don't know when I'll read them. No, not when. If I may very well hate them too much to ever open their covers. I don't know if we can blame the books for everything that's happened, Mr. Natsume. I thought we were upgraded to full Esquire. Why are we back to being a locum student? Because that's just how we work. Mr. Natsume, what do you know about this? There it is! That lathery lowlife that took my neighbor's life and sent me sliding to the depths of despair. Slippery, sickly, psychotic saboteur! You've really gone off soap, haven't you? Absolutely, and I've made up my mind. The next time someone gives me soap as a present, it's friendship finished firmly forever! I don't know that we can blame soap for everything that's happened, Mr. Natsume. Alright, I think I'm getting all I can from him. Well, let's see if the Gyarados are back. Blame soap. This is all because Herlock Sholmes ate soap. Oh, you're here now, Mr. Gyarados. Right, bully, business it is for me, you know. Getting out and about. Were you at the Old Bailey by any chance? Naturally. Fate of my lodgings hanging in the balance and all that. Not a trial to miss. The fate of what's already been dubbed your haunted lodgings, yes. Of course, the place has caused quite a stir around the capital on more than one occasion already. As the old haunted lodgings or some such. Oh, well, at least he knows. Makes you wonder what the blazes is going on, don't you know? Yes, I'm sure it does. In fact, thinking back to Mr. Natsume's other trial just 2 days ago, you were at the Old Bailey then as well, weren't you? Testifying with your wife about what happened. Stopped off the prison on the way home, in fact. Beastly business. I see. He must really like tobacco in his tea. Yeah, no kidding. So, what brings you to my haunted abode today, eh? Mr. Gyarados, could I ask you to take a look at this photograph? Is that your son who's with you there? No, not at all. He was a lodger here once. Duncan Ross was his name. Duncan Ross? A street photographer happened to be passing, so I asked him to take a shot. Just for kicks, really. Was he by any chance the lodger before Mr. Natsume? Yes, that's right. Ah, the young gentleman who died in the room in mysterious circumstances. Just what Mr. Mustache was waiting for, one might say. Yes, young Duncan lived in the room at the top of the first flight of stairs before that Japanese chap. Would you mind telling us a little more about him? Yes, Duncan Ross. Young chap was attending art school. Had to work to pay for it, mind. Moved into the middle floor room about a year ago, after that criminal Selden was arrested.
Young students are always on the hunt for rooms with a history behind them. History of cheap rent, maybe, yes. Yes, well anyway, it was one morning about a month ago now. Hadn't quite worked out the old trick of watching the gas lamps to see what my lodge was up to at the time. Sadly, I was rather tardy to discover what happened. Smell of gas that alerted me it was. Ah, yes. Synonymous with the smell of death. Called the police straight away, of course, and the officer kicked the door off its hinges. But once we got inside, we all bully collapsed. Because of the gas? Yes, room was full of it. No air at all. Stove must have gone out while the poor chap was sleeping in his bed. So Mr. Ross suffocated to death. Of course, the police gave me a sound ticking off because the gas pipes were so old and all that. Can't tell you how much it set me back to have the lot replaced all over the house. But even after you had all that work done, Mr. Natsume says the same thing. The stove goes out at night whilst he's asleep in bed. Well, that's the bully curse! The convict's curse! I've done my duty as a landlord now! Someone's feeling defensive. Some fishy fellow from the Far East, and a failed actor chap of questionable character, eh? Yes, the house does seem to have become something of a magnet for rum fellows of late. Thanks to that bully curse. The convict's curse, you mean? Ah, heard the stories, have you? Rotten scoundrel was arrested here, and the next chap in the room goes and keels over. Then there was that woman who dropped dead just outside in the street, not to mention the actor yesterday. Am I next day? Well, can't help but get the collywobbles, can ya? When you say the woman who dropped dead outside in the street, do you mean Miss Green? Because Miss Green, who was stabbed by the knife, and Mr. Shamspear, who was poisoned last night, are both very much alive still. Yes, well, so's that blasted convict's curse, it seems. Personally, I should be quite content with such lodgings. A bath, a toilet, a fireplace, a fascinating history. Why, it sounds like the lap of luxury. I'm not so sure about that. Well, there's no bath or toilet included, and no fireplace either. But you do look out for your tenants, don't you? By watching the rise and fall of the flames in your gas lamps up here. Yes, never hurts to keep an eye on things, in case there are any mishaps or such like. I think you've had your mishap already, sir. That's not helpful, Mr. Shums. Heaven forgive me, the words just came to my lips. There's no need for that, Mr. Garrideb. That's right, Mr. Natsume is in no way fishy. He is undeniably peculiar, however. Is it right that he took the vacancy immediately after the previous tenant passed away? Yes, that's right. And asked the estate agent to find someone, and he popped up the very same day. Never come across a chap so keen for a place with a background, as it were. I don't think it was the room's background that he was keen on so much as the cheap rent, actually. So, how long has Mr. Shamspear been lodging under your roof? Failed actor chap? Let me see. Oh, of course. Yes, it's been 3 months now. Quite sure of it. Only 3 months? He's quite new here too, then. And to what do you owe your certainty in that regard, Mr. Garrideb, if I might ask? Well, it was that Selden scoundrel, as it happens. Selden? The convict, you mean? Do Selden and Shamspear have some kind of connection, then? That convict chap, Selden. Passed away in the clink 3 months ago now, you see. Some malady or another. Yes, we've seen the report from the newspaper at the time. Well, it was only 3 days later that the tragedian showed his face. That actor fellow. Yes, I remember quite distinctly. 'Tis small this world we inhabit. Prithee, landlord, hear my request. I, the humble Shamspear, do desire to take thy room on the middle floor, offered erewhile for rent. Terribly sorry and whatnot, but that won't be possible. Already have a lodger on the middle floor. Ground floor room's vacant, though.
Nothing can be made of nothing. Let me repeat thy will unto thee.
Those curls must be muffling your ears. The room on the middle floor is taken. It's ground floor or nothing.
Very well. We have an accord.
Glad to hear it. Welcome to Briar Road.
Lo, a Shakespeare dance to celebrate.
From what I heard in court today, sounds like the chap was thieving gas. And he was 3 months in arrears with the rent, too. Yes, the fellow was a bully player, all right.
Thank you for your candor, Mr. Garadeb. We are most grateful. By way of appreciation, allow me to say 1 or 2 words. Give me my robe, put on my crown. I have immortal longings in me. What's happened to you? Shakespeare, my dear fellow, one of his most famous lines. I wish to divulge my own learning of the subject, for I have a turn for literature too, you know. Perhaps you could turn your attention to more apt lines then.
Oh, that reminds me, actually.
Yes?
About young Duncan, the night before the poor chap perished. He'd been writing a letter. A letter of affection to a young lady.
A love letter, you mean?
Yes. Where did I put it now? Ah, here it is. Left it on my desk.
If you'll excuse me. Let me see now. What does it say? To my most beautiful and charming sweetheart. Do you think that we should be reading such a personal piece of correspondence? My dear Miss Susato, that is precisely why I prefaced my reading if you'll excuse me. I will not excuse you, Mr. Sholmes, no.
Sadly, he didn't address it, though, so I've no means of delivering the thing. Rather sad, really.
I see. And that's gonna play on my mind. But really, the identity of Mr. Ross's sweetheart has no bearing on the case. I think we should leave well alone. Yes, I suppose you're right. Indeed, the intended recipient's address is missing. However, there is a name attributed to the man's most beautiful and charming sweetheart. Mr. Sholmes, please, I've already had to chastise you about this once. My undying love to you, my colorful darling, Olive Green.
Olive Green?
The woman who's plunged into a coma after a knife plunged into her back outside this house 5 days ago. The victim of the last case Soseki-san was in court for, who regained consciousness only yesterday. Is it just chance that her name has come up now? Could it possibly be a mere coincidence? Mr. Naruhodo, whatever can this mean? Reading personal correspondence can have its merits, you see, Miss Susato. Ah ha 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 ha. Oh, Sholmes, never change. Alright, let's go check in with Miss Green, shall we? Mr. Naruhodo, I've just finished speaking with the doctor. It seems Miss Green is well enough to be discharged at last. This is good news, but hopefully just before she leaves... What is it? Miss Green! What was that? She clearly just hit something behind her back. One moment, I'll be with you in a jiffy. Wouldn't be Holmes without his, you know, eccentricities. Oh, hello everyone. What are you all doing here? The doctor said I can be discharged, so I'm just getting my things together. Miss Green, what were you just doing? Oh, nothing. Really? Yeah, this is the stab lady from before. I was just about to take some medicine the doctor prescribed for me, that's all. Well, we were hoping to have another quick chat with you if that's alright. I don't really have anything else to tell you. This is like literally like 2 days after last case. Alright, she's definitely behaving strangely. Let's see if we can't coax something out of her. Fate does hate Soseki. Yeah, it definitely does. Miss Green, we were hoping to ask you about someone. Mr. Duncan Ross. You knew him, didn't you? Oh no, I'm so sorry. The bottle of medicine fell down when she did. Oh, Miss Green, are you alright? I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to startle you like that. No, it's alright. I just wasn't expecting it. But how do you know about Duncan? Mr. Ross had been writing a letter when he passed away. The landlord found it in his room. It was a very personal letter to you. It was at the art school. That's where I met Duncan. A year ago now. He was working to fund his studies. He dreamt of becoming a professional artist one day. And the two of you became romantically involved? Yes, that's right. We were very much in love. We were engaged to be married, actually. That's why he decided to move into a cheaper room, to save money for the wedding. And that's what led him to Mr. Garadeb's. Yes, he told me he found the worst, but cheapest room in the entire East End. And then, 1 month ago, that's when it happened. We're so terribly sorry, Miss Green. Well, it's all in the past now, I suppose. Poor Miss Green. She looks so desperately sad. I was starting to think that's just her look. But now I see that she has every reason to feel the universe is against her. It's wonderful news that you're going to be discharged, Miss Green. Oh, yes, I mean, thank you. Once people are better, the hospital staff don't want them lingering and wasting space. Not people like me, anyway. So I don't think I should keep anyone waiting. I probably shouldn't stand around and chat. She certainly doesn't seem to be in the mood to talk, that's for sure. I do hope you won't think I'm being rude, but... would you mind leaving me in peace now? I have to leave the hospital soon. Oh, I'm so sorry. We didn't mean to hold you up. Of course, we'll be on our way. Mr. Naruhodo! Surely you are not about to leave? That's quite out of the question. What? Mr. Sholmes, I didn't realize you were here. But of course I was, my dear fellow. Watching intently from the shadows, as always. Well, make your presence known next time. Mr. Sholmes, what's this about? Something which occurs to me with some regularity, Miss Susato, is this. Why do detectives insist on such an ex post facto modus operandi? Why solve a case after it's happened, instead of preventing a case before it happens? That is what sets a great detective apart. What do you mean? There is a case waiting to happen under our very noses, Mr. Naruhodo. So let us avert disaster. Let us prevent this case from ever happening. With nothing but careful observation. Alright. All the clues you need are set before you. You need only look, and you cannot fail to see. You can do it, Mr. Naruhodo. I know you can. Mr. Duncan Ross. Who would have ever thought he was engaged to be married to Miss Green? To lose one's beloved fiancée must be painful enough. But then Miss Green suffered that awful injury, and outside her fiancé's former lodgings, too. Fate can be very cruel sometimes. That mouse seems to be dead. Look, I didn't notice it there before, did you? I think perhaps it drank the medicine that spilled out of the bottle. But that's the bottle that Miss Green was about to drink from when we arrived. You don't think... Ah, I see you've come to appreciate the true nature of the scene. That's of a tragedy about to take place. Yes, I think it's falling into place. Miss Green, the contents of the bottle you had before has spilt out onto the floor, and the poor mouse that drank it has sadly died. I think it's clear that the bottle must have contained a powerful poison. Don't worry, I will attend to the mouse presently. Miss Green, were you intending to go the same way as that rodent? To take your own life? Once we'd left, you would have put it to your lips again, wouldn't you? And taken the poison? No! Miss Green, please, talk to us. Definitely feels as though this card must be relevant. I mean, when we first arrived, Miss Green was standing with it in her hand, in what can only be described as a very tense atmosphere. Yes, it may very well be related to whatever incident Mr. Sholmes believes was about to happen here. Perhaps we should ask Miss Green about it. That must be a bag of Miss Green's personal belongings. She would have been brought directly here after she was found stabbed on the pavement, though. I expect a friend or family member probably brought some things for her. Alright then, let's see what's inside. A change of clothes, no doubt, and... No, Mr. Naruhodo, you must never scrutinize a young maiden's personal belongings. The young maiden might have chocolates, or biscuits, or caramel. Naruhodo, please. Priorities, my man. Alright, I think we can press her for stuff now. "10 seconds later, and we would have arrived at a very different scene here." Oop. In all probability, we would not have enjoyed this most delightful conversation. Of course, perhaps it hasn't been quite so delightful from your perspective, Miss Green. Actually, in a way, now that everything's out in the open, I feel like a weight has been lifted. Tell me, how did you acquire that medicine? Well, with this being a hospital and all, when the doctor comes to examine me in the mornings, he always leaves the medicine cabinet open for a while, so I snuck this out while he wasn't looking. It conspicuously lacks a label. I wonder what it contains. I'm afraid I don't really know, but I thought, if I drank it, it might just stop the pain somehow. Oh, please, Miss Green, don't talk of such things. Well, it seems clear now that it contains poison. Yes, that poor little mouse is proof of that. Oh no. Oh, it's all my fault. What have I done? I shall remove this to my office, Miss Green. I take it you have no objection. No, none. Neither do the sender's name or address appear to be written on the envelope or the card. It arrived by post at my home the day before the incident that put me in hospital here. I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th. Don't tell anybody else about this letter or the meeting. It is a matter of utmost importance. Wait a minute. The 17th of this month? That's the day you were stabbed on Briar Road. And 5 p.m. is precisely the time when the incident occurred. The Slug and Salad, yes. A pub on the northern corner of Briar Road. Briar Road? Being the street that Mr. Garradeb's house is on. Does that mean that... Yes, I'm sure you've guessed. That day when I was struck in the back by the knife, I was actually on my way to the Slug and Salad. Goodness. So that's what you were doing on Briar Road that day. I'm sorry I didn't say anything before. I think I really will have to ask you to excuse me now. I've told you everything. Yes, I'm very sorry to have had to drag up such painful memories for you. No, it's fine. Miss Green? Please, promise us you won't try to do anything like that again. Ah, the details. I love how it all starts to connect. I know, right? I saw that carbon piece of evidence. I know it links up perfectly to that envelope that Shamsphere has. Or that piece of envelope Shamsphere has. Yes, don't worry. Your detective friend has the bottle now anyway. And besides, I've been stabbed in the back and had a close shave with a bottle of poison, and I'm still here. I think I'm destined to see things through to the end. It might sound a little conceited, but well, that's how all this has made me feel. Plus, the death is way too Shakespearean to not be him. Leaving Miss Green and St. Bartholomew's behind, we made our way back to Baker Street with Mr. Sholmes. Well, it would appear we've reached the end of the investigative trail for today. Yes, it's late. And Mr. Naruhodo, did you discover anything that may be of use to you in court tomorrow, do you think? Details about Mr. Shamsphere, Mr. Garradeb's lodging, the convict Selden. There are many facets to this case, and we're yet to see to the heart of it, if you ask me. That's my feeling, anyway. I can't help wondering about the results of the analysis. Into Mr. Natsume's tea, you mean? Yes, will they have found strychnine in it or not? Well, I fear that either way, it will be hard to escape the grip of our friend, Mr. Reaper. Oh dear. Yes, Baroque Van Zeeks. But I wish you every success, of course, and though I was late to rise this morning. Tomorrow will be a new dawn. I intend to spring from my bed at a crisp hour and attend the trial. Mr. Sholmes, you're going to come? Indeed, whatever happens, I shall be there. Assuming my eyelids cooperate in the morning. Well, I think we've done all we can. All that's left is to remain focused and keep fighting for Mr. Natsume's case until the very end. London, the world's most prosperous city, home to some 6 million people. But away from the razzle-dazzle, down back alleys and behind bricked-up windows, the lonely lurk. So Seki-san had battled long and hard with loneliness during his many months here. And so I felt honor-bound to battle equally hard for my compatriots, to lift the curse that gripped him. As Mr. Sholmes said, tomorrow would be a new dawn. For all of us. And I think this makes a good stopping point here. So, thank you all for coming. I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Great Ace Attorney. And I hope you join me for the conclusion trial, hopefully. I have no idea how long this trial will take. If there's going to be a third part to like, haha, we gotcha. But, no, this is quite interesting. I'm very curious to see how these disparate pieces connect together. And see what the true nature of this case really unravels. Although I'm pretty sure Shamsphere is just killing people left and right. Anyway, that's all for today. Take care, have a good night. If you want to help support the channel, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, follow me, do all that fun stuff. And And if you're interested in reading some fanfiction of mine, feel free to check out my AO3 page. Links are in the description below. Yes, we gotta also find out why this case is the forbidden one. That's very important. So many questions, so little time. But that ends it for today. Have a good night, everyone. We'll see you next time.